So there's this really weird thing that's been going on. There's a technology called nanotechnology that's FDA approved for consumption, and it could be airborne. That's one thing. That's one type of tech. There are other types of tech, 3 or 4 of them, that are somewhere in the same realm. Now, technology has existed for a really long time, and Nikola Tesla was born in the 1850s. And frequencies have been a thing that many, many people spoke about for a really long time. That guy had a family, and family has friends. People talked about stuff. Science communities, people talked about stuff. So that's not a secret. It's not a government secret, even though the government, the US government, tried to squash it. For good reason. It's dangerous. It's dangerous in the wrong hands. Anyway, people have had access to this for a really long time. There's the Tesla Science Center in Wardenclyffe, New York. And I don't know what they talk about over there, but I imagine Nikola Tesla and his work and all that kind of stuff. But among the things that he did was talk about frequencies. Now, he also struggled in his life in that, as far as I know, that he suffered an accident. I'm going to call it an accident. I wasn't there, so I don't know. A horse killed his brother, and he was present for that. And he was a young boy when that happened, so I imagine that losing his best friend, whether they got along or not, is irrelevant. As children, if that's his older brother, he looked up to that guy one way or another. So that means that emotionally he struggled. To a survivor's guilt at the very least, he struggled. And over the years, he struggled with mental health too, because in the end of his life, he was talking to pigeons. Fell in love with a pigeon. I don't blame him, I get it. I at least understand it. Anyway, long story short, he invented a bunch of things, and he worked with power electrical engineering. Essentially, he built some things. Your remote control, wireless technology. That existed for at least the last 200 years. Ish. 150 years? That's a long time for something to exist and for most people to not know a thing about it. Nobody cares, nobody looks it up, nobody does the history. You know, you're not looking at history because it's boring. When you're young, it's boring. I didn't want to read about it either. I waited till I got old. And then I'm like, oh, now it's interesting. But it didn't used to be. I did it because I had a child. And then I had to raise him. In one of his projects, he had to write a book report when he was still in school. And it was about, I was like, I don't know, Nikola Tesla. Let's just do that. We made it light up. We did a whole thing. Anyway, the point is, that's how I learned about it. Because if I'm going to teach that kid and help him out, then that means that I have to know something. So that was work. That's parental work. It's not always fun. Sometimes it's tedious. But we do it, you know. We love the kids and stuff. What was my point? Technology and layers of technology. It's layers because a guy came along, invented a thing. Another guy came along, probably built off that thing and invented another thing. Didn't tell anybody, maybe. I don't know. Then another person did the same thing. It's like, well, I see that product. That inspired me to make this product. And so on and so forth. Next thing you know, you got a bunch of products. Some of them are FDA approved. Maybe others aren't. Who the hell knows? One way or another. Because you have good people and bad people. You don't know. What was their intention? Do you know? I don't know. So let's say that it's a consumable product. What if it's in your freaking Cheerios? I don't know. It could be in anything. What if it's airborne? Who the hell knows? Potentially, the entire human population is infected. Crop dusters? Who the hell knows? What's in that shit? We don't know. It's all conspiracy theory, right? It's a theory because you don't have any proof. But when you prove it, it's not a theory anymore, it's an actuality. But most people aren't looking at that stuff because we use words like conspiracy theory, and then we talk shit about those people that theorized stuff. Flat earthers and whatnot. Some people, I see your perspective, but you're wrong. You can't discount the sphere, the physicality of the freaking sphere. That you can't theorize that away. That's why that theory is bullshit. It's a perspective. I understand how you arrived at that perspective. I could even see your point, but your point doesn't make it fact. So that's why it's a, conspiracy theory. We're gonna blow it off because we all know that this is a fucking sphere. Carl Sagan showed it to you with a piece of paper and a pencil. And the light of the sun. Another sphere. Imagine that shit. They're everywhere. Round objects just floating around space. Spherical objects, not just round. They're not circles in the sky. I thought that when I was 5 years old, but apparently I was wrong because Galileo. They wanted to kill him too. Anyway, since I'm still breathing, it's a miracle. I don't know how it's happening. Here's what I'm struggling with. Things happen in my mind where throughout my life, I mentioned something earlier. About schizophrenia, telepathy, things. There are voices from all over the freaking place. How did they get there? Frequency. 'Cause sound. Telepathy comes from a different location than other voices. So that's a huge difference. If I could make a distinction between the two things, that means that I've been in this state of being for a long enough time that I could notice the differences between things and where the fuck they come from. That's self-expression. Some people don't like that because they're religious and they think they're going to hell because words. But no God ever said. They didn't. People said it, but gods didn't. Gods were wise. That's different than people. They're just smart. That's a different level of understanding, Once you attain wisdom, that's something. And those people aren't damning people to hell because they're not self-righteous pricks. That's what happens. It's true. So I don't think that people are going to hell for words. The words are meant to be used to communicate with each other because communication and arts, they go hand in hand. It's the beauty of being an artist. You could take it to that level. We don't all just paint trees. Some of us learn from trees. Never painted a tree. That's not true. I painted one or two, a few. They made me do it in school. Construction paper in college. It was great. One of the best art projects. I thought it was so stupid at the time. I'm like, this guy's dumb. But he wasn't. As it turns out, he had 50 years of experience in the graphic design world. Who knew? And then he was like, hey, I know some stuff. I'm going to teach it to young kids, because then people could evolve. And I was like, all right, this guy's done, old fogey. But it turns out he wasn't. That lesson with construction paper, black, white, and gray only. No color. Let's pretend we're colorblind. Just drop it, narrow it down. Narrow down the field of view. Then make something. That's a great project for anyone. Do that with kindergartners. Do that every year until they graduate 12th grade. Then those people will know something, and only from one art project. That'll give them a more comprehensive education if they just think about that one thing for 12 years. They'll have a more comprehensive education than probably 90% of the world. Because they took the time to think about a thing, and that leads somewhere. I did that. I didn't tell anybody I was doing that. And now they're mad at me. Like, how does she know all this stuff? Anyway, voices. I don't hear them in an auditory way. It doesn't come through my ears. I hear them, I'm going to call it hearing because I don't know another word, in my mind. In my mind's ear. Inside my mind space, in my noggin. But also, I hear them from outside, but I don't hear them. I just understand what they're saying. I don't know how to explain that. Is that telepathy? Probably. You know why? Because sea sponges. And science already proved that. I didn't coin the term. Somebody actually did that in the 1800s, coinky dink. Because Nikola Tesla and Einstein and like people who probably had a little wisdom, because if you look at Einstein's humor, he wasn't dumb. He was funny. At some point, I bet you he got irritated with people. That's neither here nor there, but maybe in regards to telepathy. Now, what if it's voices that come from somewhere else? They do. Where do they come from? That's the question. I suspect because there are different types of technology that are consumable, that means we have a bunch of stuff inside of us. We didn't even know it was there. We ate it for breakfast. Nobody questioned it. Because, delicious. Like cellulose, but different. Just put a little sugar in it. It's so good. I still eat it. I didn't say I was complaining. It is what it is. But it also tastes like sugared cardboard. You have to do something with all that sawdust. I get it. Recycled cardboard? What the fuck is in there? It got there how it got there. In any case, technology, what if it impacts our brain? What if, with today's other technologies and nerdy kids, as some of you are, you're smart, you're bored. Some of your adult people are bored too. They're ancient. They're ancient. You know what I mean. Some of you know what I mean. And they're bored. So that means some of those people hacked those systems. Now, some of that technology is being used to read neurology. I know it sounds like a far-fetched theory, but it's not a theory. Look things up. Research. There's a whole library of Congress. Just freaking giant. I've never been there, but I hear. I don't know. Is it true? Somebody validate it. If you live in DC, have you ever been inside? I don't know, but there are libraries everywhere, which means things are written in books and on microfiche. Young people are like, what the fuck is that? Try it. There's stuff in there. Anyway, maybe not about this, but maybe. What if there's stuff about telepathy? I read it in a book when I was in first grade, second grade, grammar school. I was interested. I read about AI. I read about telepathy. I read about witches. I read about things. Apparently, they were already a thing long before I was an adult. And now, some young adults are like, she's taking all the things. I didn't invent any of those. I just read about them. You could do the same. So, now that I pointed, like, look in that direction, go do that. And when you're done doing that, then we could talk about it. You don't have to get violent about it like I stole something. But with technology, they've been doing that because frequencies and microphones. Problem. I know, because it's making my nose run. That's brain impact. That's not in my mind because it's leaking. That's physics. Snot. Snot is physics. Because that's what's happening, right? You can't dispute that because it's wet. I need a tissue. Don't judge. Your nose leaks too. Sometimes. Somebody is using that to physically harm me when they don't like what I say. So that means that somewhere in your tech world, regardless of what type of technology, somebody has hacked that system or those systems and is manipulating that to when I'm in a house with all my electronics off, no TV, TV off, cell phone off, I'm still impacted. So how is that happening? I'm not an electrical engineer, but some people are. They might not like me. People have enemies, I don't know. What do I know? They don't want to talk about it. I have a refrigerator and a microwave. They're plugged in. So does that have anything to do with anything? How about my wall sockets? I have no idea. There's wire stuff everywhere. How does that work? Receiver and transmitter, I don't know. I don't know I didn't take electrical class since like 7th grade. I was probably the only girl in shop. That happened to me a lot. The rest, it's not like you didn't have a choice. It's just like they didn't want to do it. And I'm like, this looks fun. 'Cause I'm an artist. We're a little handsy. With materials, metal shop, I made a stop sign. Maybe that's a sign. And I learned about geometry. All in the same class. No, still running. Anyway, somebody is using that to manipulate my mind. So here's what happens, is during theta brain state, usually during REM sleep, but also during meditative state, this is why I have a bigger problem than some other people. This is what I suspect. This part is a theory. I'm theorizing this. That when you sleep and your brain is in REM, that's neurology. Somebody ask an expert neurologist, because apparently some of the other ones don't know this. I don't know why, because you went to school for like how many, 20, 25 years more. Anyway, brain waves or your mind is more receptive to suggestion during that time. Nerdy computer coders, ones and zeros, binary code. Ask me how I know. I could freaking see it at one point. Last year or the year before, I could see ones and zeros like freaking, you know, like that Matrix screen? Like the movie The Matrix? I could see that happening inside my mind. But it's not a visual of my own. It wasn't in the same location. That's not how I visualize. And it's not a hallucination because it didn't happen. It's, you know, like Mirage? They try to depict that in movies, where it's like you're looking at something and then it transforms and becomes something else. That's not what's happening here. This is like I see it, but its location is somewhere in this space. But inside my mind, but also around me. I don't know how to explain that shit. Do you? Like, who else had that experience? Now, they labeled me schizophrenic because I hear voices. Now I see shit. I didn't tell them that. Why should I? What are they gonna do? Slap a label on my forehead? They take human experience and then they just label it without understanding it. So that's why I'm not okay with that. They do this to freaking everybody, I imagine. If you still have Freud books this thick on your bookshelves, have you made any progress since the 1800s? Like, how far did you get? What do you actually understand about schizophrenia? Did you just take a label and it's like, we don't know what to call this, let's make up a name? We don't know the root foundation of this or what's causing it, but let's just call it something. And then here's a pill for it. You know, to change how you think. Let's numb you so that you're just numb through life. I know this because my mother's schizophrenic. 30 plus years. She's on medication and made her fucking giant. She's fat as fuck. I don't want to look like that. I took medication for 2 weeks. I got fat. I'm like, fuck this. I've been down this road before. No medication, but I got fat. I didn't like it. My elbows couldn't touch my hips. I didn't like it. So I'm like, I'm going to work out and eat healthy. And then I lost weight. And then I got happy. You know, because I liked how I looked. And then I go to a hospital for 2 weeks against my will. I don't know how the fuck I got there. But every day I have to fight with some voices that are trying to take me over. They're reprogramming my mind where I can't make coffee in the morning without struggling with a decision. Which way to turn my body? That's physical. That's beyond mental. That's like, it's true, it's a psychological decision. But something neurological happened while I was sleeping that caused me to think differently when I woke up. Then when I wake up, and then I could override that. That leads me to believe that somebody else is forcing some shit on my brain. I don't want it there because it goes against my beliefs. If I don't believe in God, but you're forcing that on me, that's one thing. I learned more about God. Not one, but all of them. By accident. I wasn't digging for that shit. I didn't know. I just wanted to make art. Well, I'm not a theologian. I did look stuff up and I read some things to understand it because philosophy. And then I got to know some things and then I said stuff and apparently I connected with like everything in the freaking universe because I was so accepting. I'm like, you know, you exist. If I see it, how much, you want me to dispute it? I don't mean see it visually. I mean understand it, hear it, feel it, physically. It feels, I could feel viscosity. Viscosity, like thin paint versus thick paint. If I could feel it, then that means that something physical is happening. If it's physical, then you could touch it. There's not enough space inside of me for other things to exist in the same space. Stop fucking with frequency inside my brain. Okay? Because it's dumb. When I wrote down on my computer a few years ago, I wrote this like an asshole. Like, I didn't know. I didn't know people broke in. I didn't know people were reading things that I was typing. And I typed. Something like my mind is as big, there's like a whole universe inside the mind, right? Inside the mind space. What I was saying was that possibility is limitless. It's scale-wise as big as the universe. One could imagine. It's not like I traveled the whole universe. I don't know that for a fact, how big it is. But I thought about it, right? Now, somebody took that, I'm not laughing at you, but a little bit. But, not to be mean. Somebody took that literally and thought they could just stuff things inside my head, like build things in it, like they exist inside of it. You can't, it's my body. I don't want anything else in it. Like, only me. I don't know what to do with the scale of the things that I experience. Now, here's another thing. I have been blaming some people for this. Specific people. Because everything was okay with me up until 2020. Where suddenly I broke a guy's heart. And then I wasn't okay. That's not 100% true. 5 years prior to that, I broke another guy's heart. Not on purpose. I wasn't an asshole about it. But I walked away from the relationship. It's freedom. I didn't think slavery was still a thing. I didn't think like mental slavery was. George Orwell, like, he wrote a book. It was fiction, but it's not. I didn't know that. Like, who the fuck thinks, like, I want to control this shit? Well, apparently people. I don't know why you think that. So you're forcing control on everybody as if all minds are created equal. That's crazy. Not everybody made the same choices, So you don't grow up thinking the same way as everyone else. Some people, do they need control? I don't know. But isn't it screwed up to take away their freedom? I don't know. I'm not micromanaging. I'm just looking from an overview, like bird's eye perspective. You micromanage. I don't know. I don't give a shit. You're already running things. You're already hundreds of years ago, things happened, whatever. I don't want to know the details of everything. I was making art. I'm on my own road. When I said 333, Anna 333, that was that midline. It's a gradient. It's not like good and evil. There's a gradient in between. People know how to balance. It's moderation. Everything in moderation. Apparently everything should be in moderation. I didn't know that. When they said everything, I didn't take everything into account. There are too many things. Who could think of everything? And we all have different definitions of everything, so that created some problems too, because I typed that. How many people read that then assumed that I meant it toward them. Why would you think that? Do we know each other? Like, who was hacked into my computer? How many people were hacked into my computer? Did they all know about each other? 'Cause what if they didn't, but I thought they did? How many people were reading the things that I was typing to one guy? I thought one guy is reading it. That guy could have shared it with his friends, with his family. I have no freaking idea. But also, besides that, who else was already in my computer? And for how long? And why? Am I that interesting? And if I was that interesting, how come I never made it anywhere in the world? I don't know, that's a lot of rejection. Or a lot of slavery that I wasn't even aware of. They kept me docile. And then I became, free, because I'm like, fuck this marriage. And I didn't like that relationship either. I kept walking away from things. Apparently that's a bad thing. Why? Because the way I see it, not a lot of people agree with me, maybe. I don't know. I've had some problems with freedom. Because the things I wrote were manipulated at some point. Caused me to write some shit that I'd never even write and talk about. I talked about it for so long, 5 years. How did I get sucked into that? Because that goes against my personality. When I walk away from things, I walk away from things. I made one exception. That was bad. That was so long. I was a child. Other than that, and we called it friends. It's just friendship. It's long-term friendship. That may have been, I don't know. That wasn't the only exception, but, maybe I made some mistakes in that. And now it's like midlife, and in hindsight, I'm like, So what are you gonna do? Judge my entire life because I made some fucking mistakes? That's what it feels like lately. Apparently, somehow people are aware of me, but I'm not even sure who or how many of them. And now I'm struggling with this thing they call schizophrenia, which means that you've been taken over by other things. Because what if that's just a product that got hacked? How many years ago? I have a sense that people in the 1960s were struggling with this. If they were already struggling with this, especially in the music industry, it's a thing. You know how I know? I hear it in your freaking music. I hear it in your lyrics. You wrote about it. I didn't want to do that, and then I got in trouble by whatever is bigger than me that's like, no, do it, versus the other things that are like, get the fuck out of here. And there's conflict. So now that conflict is not my inner conflict if it's a bunch of men's voices who exist. It's like living, breathing people who are like, do this thing. And I'm like, no. And they call my type strong-willed, sometimes bossy, ornery, and then they try to control us. But what if we have self-control and then they don't like that because they think it's outmanning them? But that's not what that means. Now, if they think that's what it means, they should take some more time to think. And now that I'm old enough to understand some stuff, I'm like, I don't want to be there. That's the wrong place for me. That's why those people need to let me go. Because clearly I don't belong there. In the end, I'm just going to wind up seeing the truth and leaving there anyway. Why waste time? That's the way I see it. Anyway, this process over the last 5-10 years has caused me physical pain. So much so that I wound up needing surgery. And then sometime after that, I screamed out loud. I did that. I wouldn't be laughing about it. But also that's uncharacteristic because I'm not the type of person to do that, even in the worst case scenario. I had babies. I pushed a watermelon out a lemon hole. The first time without drugs. And there were 2 of them. They weren't quite as big, in all fairness. I know, I could laugh about it 30 years later. They were premature babies. Anyway, it was sad then, okay? Now it's like, whatever. It's not whatever, but I'm skipping parts. Too many things happen. What do you want me to do? I have one mouth and like 100 thoughts at a time. And whoever's reading neurology or decoding my thoughts, because AI and you could do stuff like that because frequency. That's not permission. Don't do that. It's complicated in here. I could see why some people call it schizophrenia. But typically what it is just an overabundance of thought, because that's how I typically think. And I like it. And I've controlled that throughout my entire life. I didn't know it needed control. That was just like thought process. That was my normal state of being, is just to think, because philosophy. And I did that because I have a lot of interests in life, so I did that about a lot of things. And then somebody wanted to break down my entire process as if I was complaining that it was too much. It wasn't too much for me. Maybe it's too much for somebody else, but it wasn't too much for me to function as myself. I was perfectly good in that until some people got involved and wanted to break it all down. And then what? They called it help? It destroyed my entire... I built things in my mind, right? My process, my level of understanding, my art process. I built that for 50 fucking years. Then some asshole was like, let me just dissect it all and break down her neurological process. And then they called it help. Then they wanted me to be grateful for it when I was like, fuck you. Nobody likes it when I say that. That's how I felt about it. That's self-expression. To express my rage so that I don't have to kill people. And nobody likes it when I even say that word. But apparently everybody else is allowed to run around society and they could say it so long as they're men. Is that the problem? It's like you're allowed to talk about it. I'm not allowed to talk about it. But it expresses how I feel because some assholes have been attacking my brain. So why wouldn't I feel that way? Wouldn't you feel that way if somebody did that to you? And then, since it's invisible, because thought, who could see it? I can't even sue those people, but I want to. But I can't prove it. Because I have nothing tangible to prove it. So now what? Every time I say the word sue, they go out of their way to kill my brain some more. so that I can't exist at all, so I can't sue them. So basically they want to kill me so that they could cover their asses for their giant fuck up. Of 10 years or maybe more. How long? What do I do about that? Also, some frequencies control motor function. And I'm willing to bet that there's a satellite that could see through the skylight. Then they could see my body moving. Against my will. So that's a little weird. Explain it. Like, how the hell does that work? What, am I possessed? By which type of people? I don't hate you, but I think it's weird. You know, because you're occupying the same space. And it's already occupied. So I think that that's an accident in the universe because somebody's using frequencies and it's causing things to collapse. And flat Earth might wind up being a disc where it used to be a sphere, but then it isn't. And if that happens, I suspect we cease to exist. So that's why I figured, you know, maybe it's smart to tell people what I think. But then the other people are like, that's so fucking weird. It's a good thing she's schizophrenic. Because then we could blow it off like a mental illness. There's something wrong with her. There's something wrong with me. But I'm pretty damn sure it's because people are using technologies of various kinds to attack my brain, which causes physical harm, not just to me, but to the whole freaking universe around me. If I have an awareness of it on a physical level, like if I could touch it, if I feel it, that's next level awareness. It's substance. That's physics. It's not, you're not disputing that air exists, right? You can't see that either. But we all know it's there. Because it's making a physical impact on our bodies. Try not to breathe for a minute, see how that goes. Then can you prove it? I don't know how to prove this or how to handle this situation legally. I'm not allowed to kill people. I know, that's crazy, right? In certain circumstances, it seems like the logical thing to be allowed to do. Especially since my life is being threatened. You don't see the logic in it? What would you do? Or did some of you forget to ask yourselves? So there's that. I'm not allowed to do that. So it's like, all right, I'm going to obey the law. Then the law said I'm not allowed to talk about it. Don't name the people who are hurting you. It's like, what the fuck? So now I can't do anything about it to defend myself. I can't talk about it to defend myself. What the fuck do you expect me to do? Just roll over and die? What gives them the right to exist as the bad guys in this scenario that have been deliberately causing me pain for over a decade? They have a right to exist, but I'm not allowed to defend myself? And then we call it leaders of the free world, right, America? I'm missing the part where there's freedom. This is the way you want to lead anything? I'm not okay with it, are you? And then, Was there more? Is it necessary to talk about right now? Maybe another time. My nose is still leaking. I don't want snot everywhere. Anna 333. I know people hate me at this point, some rumors. They started in high school, maybe before that. They're blaming me for things I did as a child, as if I didn't grow up. I don't know what to say about that. Think. And then I don't know, that's all I got.